I bought a MacBook Pro after nearly a decade on Windows, and after about a month I realized something unexpected. The Pro is brilliant hardware. I'm just not convinced that most people need it, and I'm also not even convinced that I need it. Here's the honest truth. The MacBook Pro didn't dramatically change what I could do. It changed how it feels to do it, and that difference is subtle, but expensive. Let me walk you through the actual decision I went through and what living with it has really been like. Before buying my MacBook Pro, I was so close to buying the Mac Air. Seriously, because if I strip away all emotion, the MacBook Air does 90% of what I need. Writing, planning, research, light 4K video editing, and a bit of photo editing as well, the MacBook Air would do all of this really well. And on top of that, it's thinner, it's lighter, and it's cheaper. So in most ways, actually, it's the more rational purchase for me. So why didn't I buy it then? Firstly, it was the screen. The MacBook Air has a good screen. The MacBook Pro has an exceptional screen. But more importantly, it was that 120 Hz for me. 60 Hz looks fine, it's great, but you can notice it, especially if you've come from a display that was already 120 Hz. Scrolling feels a bit heavier, animations don't hit quite as hard, and even when you toggle between windows, you can tell the difference. Do I need 120 Hz? No. Will I notice the difference every single day? For me personally, yes. And when your screen is your primary work tool all day, every day, daily fluidity matters much more. Second, the weight trade-off. You can put it in your bag and you basically forget it's even there. You can carry it around the house and it's completely effortless. And I know this because when I was a student, I actually had a MacBook Air. And in contrast, the Pro isn't heavy, but it's not invisible either. It feels dense, solid, and premium. And that's a trade-off that you don't see in the spec sheets, but you do feel it every single day. I went back and forth on this more than anything, and I actually went into the Apple Store a couple times just to feel the weight difference, because portability was a real factor in my purchasing decision. Then there's the ports. Now the MacBook Air is cleaner, undeniably, but the port selection is drastically reduced. Fewer options, and you basically need to get a dock or a dongle of some sort. I didn't obsess over it, but I knew ultimately it was going to shape how I connected peripherals and transferred files. And that tiny thing actually nudged me towards the Pro. And then there was the quiet question sitting underneath all of this. Am I overbuying? Or am I just buying something that will make me feel calmer and focus better over time? And that tension sat with me for weeks. Now let's talk about actually living with the MacBook Pro. The display is exceptional. Brightness is absurd, contrast is deep, and HDR actually looks HDR. But here's what surprised me the most. When you're editing your own footage on a screen this good, something just shifts and you trust what you're seeing. Skin tones look intentional, highlights feel controlled, and the image basically feels finished before you even export it. It subtly changed how serious the work felt for me. Not because it says Pro, but because the visual feedback is so confident. And when you start staring at that screen for hours, that confidence compounds. And battery confidence is another big one. Normal workday, all day, no problems. No percentage anxiety, no charger stress, no subtle countdown in your head. And that overall changes how portable the machine actually feels. You just leave the house completely differently. I don't really even check if I have my charger on hand, because it just doesn't matter to me that much anymore. Sleep and wake, I know it's boring to talk about, but close the lid, open the lid, it works every time like a dream. No deep hibernation weirdness, no delay, and no troubleshooting. It feels engineered, not assembled, which is a key difference. Now, Touch ID, I think, is one of the most underestimated features. In my book, it's almost the MVP. Instant, reliable, effortless. And you can even use it to pay for stuff, which is great. On my old Windows machine, Windows Hello genuinely just never worked. This just worked. Tap and you're in. And it removes a micro friction you didn't even know that was draining you. Now, Let's talk ports properly. HDMI built in, genuinely valuable. Plug into a monitor, done. Easy. Thunderbolt ports, good, fast and flexible. MagSafe? I mean, it's clean, dependable and easy, but if I'm honest, I don't really use it. If I'm docked at my desk, the power is already connected via Thunderbolt. If I'm portable, I normally have a USB-C charger on hand anyway, so I just plug in the USB-C. MagSafe is great in theory, but in practice, for me at least, it's more of a safety net than a daily habitual use. Now, the problem. USB-A. USB-A peripherals are basically the norm everywhere. Most mice, most keyboards, and most receivers. And I have genuinely struggled to try and find peripherals that use USB-C. And I still haven't got a mouse that is USB-C. So I had no choice but to buy a dongle. Not optional, required. If you want to use a standard mouse externally, you need a dongle. And that's annoying. It's not dramatic, but it is real. Then there's the storage. I bought the Samsung T7 with about 2 terabytes of storage on it because realistically, you need external storage. Video files, raw footage for me, and some gaming files as well on there. And there is no way that I'm going to pay Apple like $1,000 to upgrade me to a 1 terabyte SSD internally. That's just crazy money. But here's the part that nobody talks about. When you're buying a Mac, you're not just buying a laptop. You're buying an ecosystem of mandatory accessories that you need. External SSD, extra wires, and a dongle. The SSD is brilliant, but it is another object, another wire, and something you could potentially forget. And that has actually happened to me. Sometimes I have forgotten it. Sometimes I might need it mid-edit, and sometimes it's just mildly irritating. And these small frictions compound daily. Now, performance. Yes, it is fast. Exports are smooth, playback is super reliable, and the thermals are completely controlled throughout. And under sustained load, the MacBook Pro is impressive. It's writing, planning, researching, light 4K edit, and photo editing all at the same time for me, without breaking a sweat. And in those moments, it doesn't feel dramatically like the Air couldn't handle it. Let's zoom out for a second. If I stripped the logo off the MacBook Pro, handed it to you blindly, and said, is this worth more than £600 or around $800 than the MacBook Air? That's the real question. Gaming works much better than I expected as well. The performance is solid, but the battery does drain faster than I had expected. But this isn't a gaming first machine, so I can forgive it that. If that is your priority, Windows still wins, hands down. I've actually made a whole video dedicated to gaming on the Mac, so go and check that one out if you want a little bit more information. This machine is productivity first, gaming capable, and that's the distinction. After about a month, what changed most wasn't performance. It was just the mental quiet, the ability to subtly focus for long periods of time. No random fan spikes, no battery stress at all, no weird waking up behavior, and zero troubleshooting. The laptop just disappears into your normal life. The MacBook Pro doesn't change what you can do. It changes how comfortable you feel doing it. But that comfort is expensive. The screen makes my work feel more serious, at least to me. The battery makes you feel calm all day. The build makes it feel super intentional, but exceptional isn't always essential. Most people don't need more capability. They just need fewer interruptions. After a month, I don't regret buying the Pro at all, but I do understand it better now. And that clarity is worth more than any benchmark.